Next up, we're going to have a little talk from Kerry.
Is it going to fly ahead?
No, don't worry, it's a different one. Just give
It's going to behave.
Do the Lyra keys. Yeah.
Kerry's from UVA.
Hi, my name's Kerry Elmsley and I'm producer for UVA. So UVA was formed in 2002 by Chris Bird, Ash Nero and Matt Clark. And the premise to start was Massive Attack's 100. Between the three of them, they shared the skills of software development, artist, and stagecraft, we like to call it. And through this tour, which was at the time quite groundbreaking, we used real-time digital inputs and a localized show every night where it played. And really, it was where we started to sort of treat the traditional screen as what you see in a backdrop, as a light as a pixel and a pixel as a light. We've continued to work with Massive Attack as the years have gone and developed about 5 tours with them now. And what we really like about working in music is that it allows us to experiment on a really large platform. And it also gives us the opportunity to understand audiences and understand peak and flow and rhythm and building that emotion and building that tension. So that's why we continue to do it today. In the studio, there's now about 15 people. None of us have the same skills. We all have individual approaches to what we do. And for what we're moving out from music into performance is we started to think about how we moved into the real world, which is kind of what we're talking about tonight. So for this piece, which was for Battles, we actually created an installation for the band to perform in, and it kind of created a really nice synergy. And you can see where that kind of goes. This is Jay-Z's art collector actually approached us to kind of do something for him because he wanted to do something outside of what hip-hop normally does. So we built him a really big sculptural stage that allowed us a kind of really strong graphical look, but also gave him what he needed in terms of recognition and intimacy in a relationship. Why I'm kind of showing you all this music stuff, it's about how we learnt to understand people. And you know, this is an example of how we kind of take similar kind of technique where we use things like 3D scanning, point data cloud live tracking for performances, and we like to experiment with all kinds of outputs and apply them in different, you know, completely different contexts. Like you couldn't really get further away than a dance performance in the Take Modern to a big hip hop gig. But what all of this stuff does is it allows us to put all our experiments into practice. So there was this really revolutionary night at the V&A, and it was actually curated by Shane Walters. And it was called Transvision, and it was where artists got to engage and almost as a counterpoint to the museum environment. So this was our first experiment in kind of large-scale real sculpture. What we thought would happen is actually not what happened at all. So again, it's all about understanding what you think, you know, testing it out and realizing that actually you weren't right, but some of it was right. So this was a really quite an aggressive piece, and we thought that everyone would stay back, be a little bit further away, and in the end everyone went straight to it like moths to a flame. So we took that learning with us. We had the opportunity to have a commission in the garden of the V&A, and that was This Is Volume. And when we start to create something physical, we think about how it functions on multiple levels. First of all, it has to work as a sculptural piece. It has to have its own aesthetic, its own relationship to the architecture, and really be just beautiful without people. But then further to that, you have to think about what the journey is for you and what that intimate experience is. So we think about how people move through it, how do they get involved with it, how do they become attached to the work. And then when you widen that out, it goes to the group dynamic. So who's watching who? Is there a group consciousness or is there only individual behaviour? And then when you widen that out further, as the audience, you can decide whether you're the audience or the performer. And these are the kinds of things that we always think about because, as Hyper Island pointed out, it's really all about people and how they feel and what emotion you can bring to them with your work. One of the ways that we can sort of judge the popularity of what we do is how many people upload stuff about it. And this is just a really small sample from or we've toured volume to 5 countries. So these are just really small glimpses of what people have put up on Flickr, you know, when they've been with volume. And what it actually does, working with lights, particularly with LED, is that offering people a really close-up, intimate relationship with LED is different from what they're normally used to. And I've been constantly surprised by how people react to it. You know, we've even had people licking them. I'm sure a lot of you are interested in what makes people play and what makes people lose their kind of inhibitions. And this piece was commissioned in a really challenging environment in Tokyo, which was a really super posh retail place called Roppongi Hills. And we couldn't compete with the architecture there, and we couldn't interrupt any of the shops. So in a way, that's the kind of challenge that you get set when you get to deal in these kind of retail spaces. So we decided to make a floor-based piece. What this piece uses is called Contact, and it uses a velocity and gesture engine. So it knows where you are, how fast you're moving and what you're doing. And in a sense, we created a giant game of air hockey. So you could control every single thing on that floor. And it was really important to us to make something that could engage with people of all ages. We like to make work that makes people ask questions, but we also like to make work that people just enjoy.